Hey there, worldwide. Hey there, YouTube. Hello, everyone who is tuning in to Kari's Corner today. Thank you so much. We are on episode 2 of 2024. Episode 2. Always a good time in Kari's Corner. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you're here today. If you are joining us and you've never joined before, please make sure you put your name and where you're tuning in from in the chat. I'm super excited about today's episode. I am so pumped. So please, please, please. Last week we had such a great chat. We had a Q&A about all things English exam related. Today's episode is Pearson PTE Q&A. Pearson PTE Q&A. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It's not just me answering your questions. We have a representative from the Pearson PTE, Meredith Stokes. She is absolutely amazing. She's one of my favorite people on the planet to work with. So I'm so excited. Those of you out there with Pearson PTE questions, today is your day. Today is the day you get to ask those questions and get those answers. But I have a few housekeeping things before we jump right into Meredith and all the fun Q&A questions you guys have. Remember, keep all those questions. I'm here. I'm not just completely turning the show over to Meredith. You have me, who's here to answer any of your immigration questions. You have Tracy on the other side, who answers pretty much everything. Tracy is like our very own Google search engine. It's just, he's amazing. Shout out to Tracy. Jonathan joining from the Philippines. Fantastic. Thanks for joining, Jonathan. So we have some exciting news that CGFNS has announced that they will start doing electronic visa screens. And this is super handy because you know what that means? It means you can print your own visa screen and take it to the embassy interview. No more waiting on that pesky mail service. Isn't that fantastic? Way to go, CGFNS. They're going to roll that out. I think they've started rolling it out a little bit. Hello in Pakistan. Thank you so much for joining today. Wow, right, Naomi? Wow, CGFNS, like catching up with the times. Way to go. Way to go. But I think they've started rolling it out a little bit, but officially by end of February 2024, CGFNS printing your own visa screen. Yay, CGFNS. Thank you for watching in Nigeria. So happy to have you here. A couple of places that you guys can find worldwide in the coming weeks. January 17th through the 18th, we are going to be in Nairobi, Kenya for the launch of their official Pearson NCLEX testing center. We are so thankful. Hello in Qatar. So thankful to Pearson, which is also related to the PTE. For those of you guys who didn't know, they also put out the PTE. So thankful for Pearson and branching out to give us another testing location in Africa. We're going to tell Meredith, tell your NCLEX buddies, please continue branching out in Africa. I know so many of you are in Africa and you want that availability to take that NCLEX. So Nairobi, Kenya, we will be there January 17th through the 18th, not just to celebrate the launch of the new Pearson VUE NCLEX Test Center, but to also do a recruiting event. So be on the lookout for Lewis and Mark, who will be there. I'm so jealous. I wanted to go to Kenya, ladies and gentlemen. You are from Nigeria. That's fantastic. Hello in Cameroon. Happy glorious new year. Happy glorious new year to you as well. Hello in the Philippines, Qatar. Wonderful. Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So happy you guys are here today. In Angeles City in the Philippines, January 13th. That is coming right up. That's this weekend. We have a recruiting event. So if you are in the Philippines and you'd like to talk to a worldwide recruiting event, or you want to attend a recruiting event or find out more about what Worldwide is and what we do, please, and you're in the area in Angeles City, I have to check my notes because there's so many things going on. All of the details for that are on our social media, and our recruiting team in the Philippines, I have so many hearts for them. They're just the most wonderful, fantastic, kind people. And you're really lucky if you get to meet Nico and Paul. They're on our marketing team, and they're just some of my favorites. Tracy's still my favorite. Don't get jealous over there, Tracy. And then finally, we will be at the PNAA, which is the Philippines Nurses Association of Americas, in Ilolo I had to like spell that out phonetically. If I'd have actually seen that spelled out, you guys know if it's a name, I'm going to butcher it. But that's a big conference in the Philippines, January 25th through the 26th. So come find us, because I can't tell you exactly where we're going to be. So you're going to have to do a little digging and find out exactly our location. But if you're able to come to the PNAA, we would love to see you. We would love to speak to you. I think that's all I have, Tracy. I think that's it. If there's something else, he's just going to have to put it in the chat, because I'm just too excited. And I know you guys are on the show today to ask Meredith all of those fun PTE questions. So I'm going to bring Meredith from the Pearson PTE on. And there she is. Hey, Meredith, how are you?
Hey, Kari. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me again. I think this is one of the best shows out there, and you just give such good information, whether it's about traditions in the U.S. or getting used to it, or exam tips, or recruitment trips. And I think it's a great variation. You do a great job. So thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you, Meredith. We are, as you know, we are big fans of the PTE. Meredith pops on our chat sometimes. I think she kind of laughed at my Christmas cookie episode. That was
loved it.
that was a good time. That was an adventure. Those cookies didn't turn out too great, but they were edible, which is all that counts, right? So with the Pearson PTE, and I just want to make sure that we're very clear. The Pearson PTE, right? Pearson is a big company, massive company, and they are in charge of the NCLEX as well, correct?
Yeah, maybe I should do a little intro on Pearson and PTE and NCLEX, and kind of give everybody some insight as to how we are together, but yet very separate.
Yeah.
So PTE stands for the Pearson Test of English. Sometimes you'll just hear people call it Pearson's Test, which it's the Pearson Test of English, so that's okay. There's PTE Academic. There's also a few other versions of PTE out there. There's PTE Core that's coming in January for Canada migration. We have some other things in the portfolio for other areas, but for nurses coming to the US, it is PTE Academic that you want to pay attention to. So I think that that's one thing to note, because there's a lot of PTE out there, especially now. We're just growing so fast. So again, owned by Pearson. And then you have NCLEX, which is the test that you guys all get to take, almost all of you guys, I do believe. And it's administered by Pearson VUE. So Pearson VUE is another Pearson line of business. So within Pearson, there are so many products and so many lines of business that we are one Pearson and we work together, but our businesses run very separate from each other, if that makes any sense. So we love hearing from you guys on our side, where you need test centers, where PTE can be, where NCLEX can be. We hear from a lot of people, I took my test in the same place and it gave me a little bit of comfort, that familiarity. They'd already been there to take the NCLEX, and hopefully kind of the same way. So we want to be an advocate for all of our test takers, and we want to be able to go to VUE and say, hey, we're hearing directly from our test takers and from our partners that these are some places. And so, like you said, we are opening another test center for the NCLEX. They get to decide that all on their own in their line of business. So we can send influence and send requests, but it's kind of like, sending cookies to somebody, where it's, you don't know if they're going to eat those cookies, right?
That's true.
Yeah, Pearson came out with PTE because we are a learning company. So we own a lot of publishing and a lot of materials, especially in the English language learning space. So we were getting a lot of feedback 12, 15 years ago about the tests that we publish test prep for. And we knew that there was obviously a need for a test that eliminated the bias that's a lot for introverts, a test that is accessible, a test that is easy to register for, easy to sit for. The content, it's not easy. So I like to make that clear when everybody talks about PTE, because it is a great experience. It's one test setting. It's 2 hours. You can register for the test, sit for the test, and submit your results to CGFNS for that digital certificate in less than a week. And so that time is just so valuable to us, right? I mean, globally, time is the most valuable currency we have. So instead of spending your time going to weekends of test prep, we really want people to learn English and increase your English skills and use our tests to find where your weaknesses are and how can we help you get those weaknesses up. So that's kind of a little bit about PTE in a nutshell. Obviously, we test the 4 skills: reading, speaking, listening, and writing. As I said, it's done all on computer at a Pearson Center. We have 484 test centers globally in 118 countries as of today.
We do have a question in the chat,
Yeah.
a couple questions in the chat. The first question is there a PTE test center in Nairobi? So when they open the Pearson VUE NCLEX Center, will you also be able to take the PTE as well?
Should be. We do have expansion plans every year. They don't really let us talk about where those are for privacy, but you can pretty much, if it's a Pearson Center, NCLEX is the most secure, and they're very selective about their test centers, about partners, about any of that. PT is also on that same level because it's used for migration, things like that. So I can't say 100% it will be that test center, but I would say it's a very good indicator that we have the ability to put PTE in that same test center. So
that would be awesome.
Without committing VUE.
Right. Yeah. That's
doing
awesome,
that.
Though, that you mentioned, being able to go in and take it. There is a certain comfort that comes with taking a test, somewhere you're familiar, right? Like, okay, I've been here. I know the drill. It kind of takes away the anxiety of the arrival, and how arrival's going to work. You know what you're going to have to do. You know what it looks like when you sit down. So that a little bit of that anxiety is taken away if there's some comfort there. So that would absolutely be awesome. Someone asked if there are two people asked if are there any test centers in Pakistan that you're aware of? 7. Do you hear that? Is it Ijaz? I told you guys I'm horrible. I'm horrible.
I will drill down right now and look. Multan, Kasur. I am also terrible with names, and maybe this is something we should work on a show, and we could have everybody maybe school us
how to pronounce names.
These. So let's see. Gracious. Drilling down to Pakistan. And that is a great, we're seeing a lot of nurses coming from Saudi, Pakistan, that the Middle East region is really developing as far as nurses. And it's great to see the access there for them as well.
Yeah, I know we have a lot of Filipino nurses who will go to Saudi or in the Middle East regions, and they'll work there. So you guys are world travelers out there. You all are world travelers. Do you know, and I know that, Great Britain and the United Kingdom are even more picky than the United States and our boards of nursing can be. Are they still strictly IELTS and OET, or is Pearson PTE working to get in on that market as well?
We are working to get in. Being that we're located at 80 Strand, you would think that we'd be more, but it is there. The government, the UK government, with their migration, with all of their immigration policies are, like you said, incredibly strict. So it is in the talk, and we are working for that. We do also with Canada. We've been in discussion and going through those exercises. So our goal for PTE is that it is a global test, and it's a global test that you could take to use for any migration needs at the same time that you wanted to use for employment needs, or if you were going to school. We don't want you to have to take multiple tests for each thing. It should be sufficient. So we're already almost global. I would say the US is kind of the last of our spots in the study market. And then for nursing, we're just kind of waiting on UK. So yes, so I have the results on Pakistan.
Oh, there we go.
So we have 2 in Islamabad, 2 in Karachi, 2 in Lahore, and 1 in Multan.
There you go. Look at that right there. There's your question.
And let me know if I butchered those names terribly. That would be
You did better than I would. Trying to move to the UK and continue their job as a nurse. So yeah, that as far as Meredith knows right now, the PTE is not acceptable for immigration and working in the United Kingdom.
Well, it's acceptable for working and migration, but not for the nursing board specifically.
Okay.
So you can use PTE for all of the migration purposes, any, things like that. But with the nursing board, they would then have you take IELTS.
Yeah. IELTS or OET as far as the UK is concerned. So I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask, obviously the big question I get a lot, and it's usually via email. Sometimes my chatters on here will ask, but the big question is, which one is the easiest? And because of the score that was set of PTE, which you and I have talked about this, a lot of people want to take PTE because they're just kind of saying it's the easiest. And I try to explain, I'm like, it's not the easiest test. It's still a difficult test. It's still rigorous. It's still academic in nature. It's just the score requirements. There's a little bit of a discrepancy there. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah.
I hate to send people in. I don't want people going in being like, well, this is going to be a piece of cake. And I'm like, it's not.
Well, and I would say it's not a discrepancy. It's the fact that our scoring is so much more accurate and more precise. And so if you look at PTE scores versus, say, an IELTS half band, within one IELTS half band, you could have 9 PTE points. 9.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So PTE, you hit your minimum score 50, but say that's in that band, right? You're not going to hit that in IELTS. And it's not that it's a scoring discrepancy. It's a kind of a concordance.
Okay.
I would say not a concord. It's hard. So our tests measure the same thing, but we're both fruits, but one's an apple and one's an orange.
Right.
They're both great tasting. They do the same thing. They fulfill a nutritious value. They've both been vetted for security, but they test in 2 different ways. So it is sometimes hard to really compare the scores as apples and apples when they're that far off. So I would say that because we're more precise in our scoring, it allows you to be safer on what you're getting instead of in that range. So you could land anywhere on that PTE score and you would never know because you're in that band. So again, I would say that because of our scoring, that's the advantage, is that it is more precise. And so it allows the nursing boards to set a precise score. And just, I think we've talked about it again. The scores were set by individual states. They looked at what their requirements were, what they wanted, especially in CEFR levels, Common European Framework, which a lot of people go back to for kind of a back to the basics look at where students lie. And so a lot of states decided this is where they wanted the PTE candidate. So it's again, one of those things that we encourage schools, we encourage nursing boards to continually update their tests. When we come to schools, a lot of times they say, well, we want to set our PTE score higher than that. And when we ask why, they say, well, because we're not what we're getting right now from our other tests isn't sufficient. So we want to raise that score. And we keep saying, okay, well then raise that score. And then let's look at where we want our students to lie. Right. But so that's kind of the score setting, I think, adds a layer of complexity to everything. And I think that because it is so precise and we are such a great process, there's a lot of people out there that want to talk trash on PTE and say, their scoring's bad, this is bad, and that's not going to happen. And I can assure you, we have millions of dollars a year that go into research. We've updated our IELTS concordance last year. We're in the middle of doing another TOEFL study. We will continue to do studies and concordance updates and publish those as they come. But for right now, I think what most nurses taking the PTE can just be confident that it's a precise score. And so it is an easier experience. I have taken the tests, and I can say, if you're looking for the easiest experience, it is PTE. It is more, for me, it was more comfortable. It was quicker for me to register. It was quicker for me to get my results. It was quicker for me to send my results. Everything was right in one little dashboard. So again, the experience was easy.
Right.
But as you pointed out, I've taken the PTE as a native English speaker, and it's not easy. You have to be dialed in and understand English. Memorizing a template is not going to get you your score.
No, I'm so glad you said that. A lot of our candidates, I think the two areas, thank you so much. Maja and Diva took the PTE and recommending the PTE. Of course, we have so many nurses out there who are recommending the PTE. So many requests of, can I go to a state that accepts the PTE? As far as the countries, as far as nursing is concerned, and the immigration process, what countries will accept the PTE for a nursing licensure and scoring, as far as you know?
Officially, the U.S. However, in our, we ask test takers, why are you taking this test? We've had many, and I mean hundreds of nurses put for Finnish for multiple European countries. So I do think that there are countries in Europe that don't have perhaps an official regulation. It's just an approved English test. Because again, it's not 5 or 6 nurses, it's hundreds sending that are writing that in. We have teams there reaching out, but confirmed, I would say the US is the one confirmed. And then Kari, I can get you a list of some of the other countries if that would be helpful that people use for nursing. But on our official that we would promote, it would be the US. And then again, we're working on UK and Canada.
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw the promotion.
Australia, New Zealand also. I don't know how I forgot. They're the major one. I would say they were our pioneers in the nursing acceptance for PTE. And
that's awesome.
Thousands and thousands of nurses to Australia, New Zealand, and then the US. So apologies, Australia. Apologies, Australia. Please
that is absolutely awesome. That is awesome. That's so funny. You're like, oh, Australia. That's where this whole thing started. That's definitely something I would do. So what if we have people out there who are studying for the PTE and preparing for the PTE, where would you tell them to go? Where are they going to get the best resources? What's the best way to study for the Pearson PTE?
So I think the best way to prepare is to take a scored practice test. Do the mic check, do the systems check, because even though your microphone might work on your Zoom call, it does have very specific requirements. And so I've heard of some people that have not gotten a speaking score, but everything else worked, but they didn't do a system check. So do your system check, do a scored practice test. My offer would be anybody that's live right now and wants to get a free scored practice test. If you want to shoot your email, is there a private way they can send you their email, Kari?
Yeah, they can email me. Tracy's real good about sticking that at the bottom of the screen.
Tracy, if you want to put in an email address that they could send their emails to, I will send free practice tests to anybody today.
That is huge. Yeah, if you guys want to make sure you put in your email. Look at that, Tracy.
Practice test
back there. Just put PTE free practice test. Please is always a great way to end that. But PTE free. You guys always have manners when you email me. This is like the things I have to tell my children. Please is a great way to end that sentence. PTE free practice test, please. If you email me that, I will definitely send that list over to Meredith and she'll send it right on. That's awesome. That's so huge. Please take advantage of this. That's like the number one thing I tell candidates when they're prepping. Take a practice test. Take a practice test, like as many as you can.
So yeah, I tell everybody start with a practice test, and that identifies, screenshot that immediately. You won't get it sent to you. Screenshot it, and that tells you what you need to work on. So I wouldn't spend my time unless you're not sufficient in every category, I wouldn't spend my time going to a weekend test prep or a dump session on test prep. I would spend my time, grammar, or, whatever it tells you is your lowest category, your lowest, say 3, tackle those 3. Almost all of the test is integrated tasks. So it's testing 2 skills at once, and any increase that you can give one set of skills is going to help your overall score. So I tell everybody, look at what it tells you to work on. If it's speaking, find somebody to speak with. The second thing that we have, and we kind of talked about this briefly, is Mondly. I say Mondly not only because it's a Pearson product, obviously, but because a lot of the apps that are out there are not trying to teach English. They're trying to teach you to a test. And the goal is not to increase your test taking skills. It's to increase your English skills so that it goes along with you on this journey, right? And your journey continues. So, Mondly identifies, I think, ways to teach you that are fun and you remember some things, or another app that teaches English or something that's teaching English. But I shy away from telling everybody that what you need is a test prep course, because a lot of times that's not what some people need. They just need certain skills increased. So I think really taking that practice test in the beginning is a great way to do it and see what you would get if you took the PTE today. Work on those skills. And then when you're feeling confident again, take another sport practice test. Or there's a lot of other PTE prep providers. I don't work with them, but I'm part of all the groups everybody else is about PTE. And I've heard that there's some really good preparation and other scored practice tests as well that give you a little bit more variety. So I think that's probably the number one thing. We also have the app, and it's free. It's free, has a lot of questions in there. You can kind of ping through that. If you've got an extra 5-10 minutes, you're on the bus, on the train somewhere, and you're just killing time. It's a great way to put some of those questions just in your mind. I think the test structure, because of doing the practice test, will also be a lot easier to understand. And you'll feel more comfortable having that familiar feeling of I've done this experience before. I think will really help. At least it helped me when I was taking it.
I really want to highlight what you said about don't practice to get good at taking a test. The goal here is we're testing your English skills for a reason, right? You're going to come over to the United States and you're going to be expected to speak English with your patients. And that's the real test. That's the real, like the PTE. Yes, that's a step. That's a step you can take to get to the United States and become a nurse in the United States. But if you just prepare to take the PTE and know how to answer PTE questions, I can guarantee you, as great as the PTE is, you're probably not going to get any of those questions when you're bedside with a patient. That's just the reality of it. So,
and that's the same with IELTS. People try to hope for the test, the question that they've practiced for.
Yes.
And again, you're not going to get that practice question.
That's why with PTE, and they do a good job of this with they're scoring their responses, these what I call canned responses, right? And you can tell if someone's been to an IELTS test prep center or any test prep center for that matter. They always, everyone starts answering their questions the same way. Like, well, let me tell you about blah, blah, blah. Is that conversational at all? No. And it wastes time. PTE is a timed answer, and you're talking to a computer, you're talking to an AI. It's wasting time. We know you're going to tell us about this because that's what we asked you a question. If you're walking down the street with your friend and your friend's like, hey, what'd you have for dinner last night? Do you respond with, well, let me tell you what I had for dinner last night? No, that's not natural at all.
I was just going to say, well, let me tell you, Kari, it's definitely one of those things, but same with PTE. we're pioneers in AI, we're pioneers in digital. We have this built in. And if people don't think that we have anti-gaming and templates and all of that, I mean, you are doing yourself no favors. And in fact, as technology gets better, you're doing yourself a very big disfavor. Is that the word?
Disservice?
A disservice would be the correct word. You're correct. Because if your score gets canceled, you're out that money. And then you're added to a list. And it's much better to learn how to format. And that's the sad thing. I see these things about templates and I'm like, guys, just talk about formatting and structure. Let's talk structure of how, because that's what they're teaching them in the template. But instead of learning structure, we're memorizing the template. And so that's where I think
writing. Yeah, I get so many questions, and I understand from a candidate's perspective, that's probably the hardest thing to get feedback on is your writing, because you can practice speaking, you can find someone to speak with. I offer, always, like, I'll send you writing prompts and you email me back and I will check your writing prompt. I'll give you some honest critique, some honest feedback, but writing is probably the hardest thing. Do you have any tips on how people can prepare for or improve their writing scores?
Yes. Take a typing class.
Oh, that's
Get online and take a free typing class, a 30-minute typing update, because I'm saying this from my experience trying to type in Spanish. It is very slow for me because I'm trying to look at the keyboard. And so I've taken typing because I'm old in the US, and back in the day we had to take typing.
That was part of our curriculum.
And so, you type without looking. And so as you mentioned, it's a time test. I think the more comfortable you are with writing and spelling and typing, the easier that is. I think that typing also teaches spelling at the same time. Not a teacher here, but I do think that that's one easy way. And there's a lot of free typing classes on the internet.
Pearson doesn't, I know when we type emails now, we're so used to that automatic spell checker, right? Pearson doesn't give you that red squiggly line when you miss. Okay, just making sure. I just want to make sure that I'm putting the right information out there.
And that's part of it is you have to identify your spelling. So the more you type it out and the more you practice these words, the easier it comes to you. And I like to tell people, stop being so hard on yourself. I guess that's the number one thing. Stop being so hard on yourself, because I guarantee you that, number one, your English is probably better than you think it is. Number two, huge for just even learning a second language.
Yes.
And those are two things that a lot of people never attempt. So,
especially as an adult.
Yes, it's if they weren't taught a second language as a kid, they're often not interested in learning another language. So take it easy on yourself. I think confidence is another thing, not with writing, but with the speaking.
Yes.
So for writing, my number one tip would be do some practice essays where you're writing and you're typing, and turn your spell check off. Turn your spell check off. Once you've finished your writing, turn it on. See what you have. But again, I think that some of the typing will help with that, and some of the basic spelling. Again, I can see what our scores kind of come in this test taker segment, and they're much higher than the requirements, So I would just say, again, you guys, that's why I'm saying, I know you have better English than you think you do, because I see the scores and I see the averages, and I'm blown away. So writing, take a typing class online. Speaking, get with somebody, get with a friend, find another friend, get on one of these groups, and find somebody else that's in the same kind of stage. They're also going to be just as motivated. They're going to be familiar with what you're looking to bounce off of.
You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Very much so. So we have a few questions in the chat. Let me see. They've kind of popped up. I love the typing tip, by the way. That's something I never even thought of. Like you can Google free typing tests, and so many come up. Take free typing tests just to get your speed up, your comfort up. It's absolutely amazing. After clearing the PTE, you can work as an RN in the U.S. The details about the U.S. So I love this question, and I would love to be able to give you an easy answer and say, yes, PTE, it's accepted by everyone. However, unfortunately, that is not the case. So what happens is you will, with Worldwide, if you decide to use Worldwide and you apply with Worldwide, you work with one of our recruiters, you get a job offer in a state. You have say in that. That's, again, I want to point that out. We're a direct hire agency. We're not a staffing agency. So you can say no to a job offer. You can say, no, I don't want to work in that state. I don't want to work there. Our recruiters are going to ask you where you want to be. If you don't know the geography of the U.S., then we'll ask you, do you like hot weather? Do you like cold weather? Do you like big cities? Do you like small towns? We're going to try to put you where you're going to feel the most comfortable. Step one. Once you've accepted that job offer, and we celebrate that, that's when your immigration process starts, right? And that's when we can start looking at what documentation is going to be needed down the road for not only your immigration, but your licensure. So PTE is accepted for all visa screen purposes. For CGFNS and the visa screen to come to the US, PTE is on that list. You need a minimum of a 50 in all subsections and a 55 overall. That's what you need for PTE. However, some boards of nursing do not acknowledge or accept the PTE for their licensure process. Most of them do, right?
Yeah. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah, every day we're making progress. But I would say definitely over half, more than over half. We're close to 40 now, right?
I think from our count with examination and
endorsement.
I think it's by our mutual count was 39.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Very close. Recognizing directly with PTE that we have on our list is lower. It's such a disconnect to try to get people to verify. Yeah, we're taking these test scores. Thanks for asking.
And then you'll call some states and be like, "What? Who?" Like, but it's on your website. I don't know that test.
Yes. So I think it's, as Kari said, it's kind of, it's a tedious time right now. Mm-hmm. My goal is in the next few years to not have this, to have, I mean, it would be great for all the states to have very similar requirements, and that would fall under the visa screen. To me, that would make sense. I'm not a regulator, right, so I'm not in charge of that. But right, if I was suffering from a nursing shortage in my state and wanted to be competitive with other states, I certainly wouldn't have more barriers for those nurses. So right, I hope that people understand that international nurses are coming to help us. And if I've heard from people, well, I took the PT, had a great experience, and I'm not interested in taking another test, so I will go to a state that I can use my PTE for.
And we have candidates who tell recruiters that, and they will point blank tell recruiters, like, does that state accept the PTE? And if if they say yes, a lot of people are like, absolutely. That's a great tip or a question for you to ask. If you're in the application process and you want to take Pearson PTE, or maybe you already have a Pearson PTE score, tell your recruiter that I already have a Pearson PTE score. I would like to go to a state that accepts the PTE. 39 states. That's a big area of the United States that you can choose from.
The more recruiters, the more states hear from nurses that they want to use this test and it's the best test for them, the more it helps all of us get to the goal of not having, oh, well, let me check if that state and let's check if this state. So as Kari said, tell your recruiter when you're reaching out to nursing boards, mention it to them. It's something that I think you're the most valued commodity in this entire chain. So your voice should be heard. And if PTE is what you want, then I think it's fair to ask for that. Again, we say all the time, there's multiple tests because there's multiple learners and people learn different, people test different. And giving people choice is fair, it's accessible. We just think that it's again, that equitable for anybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. And PTE, I have to tell people all the time, PTE may not be the test for you. There are other testing options. That's the great thing, is you do have other testing options. A question on patients asked, when are you coming to South Africa? Is the PTEs available in South Africa, correct?
I believe so. Let me double check.
I thought so. I know there's a Pearson VUE testing center in South Africa.
Let me pull up my handy list that I knew that I would have questions on.
But patients, if you're asking when are Meredith and I physically coming to South Africa, I would love.
I was going to say I would love to. But
you put in the request, patients, and say we would like Kari and Meredith to come to South Africa and talk about Pearson PTE in person.
Right.
We would love to do that for you.
2 in Cape Town, 1 in Durban, 2 in Johannesburg, and 1 in Pretoria.
All over the place in South Africa. I know that transportation is a big issue for a lot of nurses, a lot of people. It's not just money spent on the test, what is the average cost of the PTE, Meredith?
Well, so it varies per country based on currency, based on economics of that. What I can tell you is the range is quite large. In some places in pounds, it's as low as 144 pounds. Mm-hmm. In other places, it's as high as 272 pounds, Switzerland. Okay. So the range is there. I would say we're always right in line with our competitors, but typically a little bit less even than our competitors. I think for a price comparison, like I said, with IELTS and TOEFL, we're right in there. OET, I believe, is like 400, maybe
a little over 400. Mm-hmm.
So about
532 Australian dollars, I believe.
Almost
so 437 US.
So I think we've been able to say we're typically the least expensive, but it might be by a couple pounds. But again, it just depends on the area. I think the nice thing about PTE is that you get unlimited score reports for your whole 2 years that you have taken PTE. So with some of the other providers, you only have X amount of scores, and then you have to start paying for additional scores. Mm-hmm. So if you have to send one to a recruiter and one to an embassy and one to a board and one to who knows? I mean, I just know that I've been told that
yourself.
7 or 8 go out, and you think, well, that's another $50 then that people are spending. And we don't do that. Once you've taken PTE and you've got your score for 2 years, you can send it unlimited. Say you decide that you don't want to be a nurse anymore and you want to go back and get a master's degree and study. You already have your PTE. You can assign that to a school. You don't have to take it again. So, and you don't have to pay to assign it. It'll just be in your dashboard.
That's really awesome. That is awesome. Since you have that super handy list pulled up, we have a question about in the UAE, testing centers in the UAE. I think they specifically asked about Dubai. I would assume you would have one in Dubai.
Do.
Yeah.
We have 3 in Dubai.
3 in Dubai.
3 in Dubai, Murdoch University, the Exam Preparation Testing House, and JNS Training and Testing Center, and then 1 in Abu Dhabi.
Very cool. Very cool. What about, I know you said Australia and you said New Zealand. What about, where are we looking at? Oh, Tanzania. Small area, but I'm not sure.
Yes, ma'am. We do have a test center in Tanzania.
Look at that.
Salam.
Look at that.
Yeah. CATS Tanzania Limited.
Perfect. Well, there you go. Tanzania. You can write this exam too, Ben. How about that? It's a shocking. Just amazes me some of the places that testing centers are and some of the places where they aren't. I'm like, wow, okay. Are we as worldwide only recruiting for the USA? I'm going to let Tracy answer that question because it's kind of an all over the place answer, but Tracy is better at answering those questions than I am. Someone asked if we're going to offer a certificate for the PTE. We have Meredith already mentioned earlier in the show. Lizzie, if you would like a free practice test, a free scored practice test from PTE, if you email me, scroll through the chat, you should be able to see it. But it's just kcooper@healthstaff.org. I will send you a free practice test courtesy of Meredith, our amazing guest today. Is there a YouTube channel for this PTE? Yes, the PTE has a YouTube channel.
Let me find it and I'll send it into the host and put it in. It's huge. And there's tons and tons and tons of tips on the YouTube channel. I think that that's, again, a fantastic free resource. And I did see somebody asked how much in USA dollars. It's $245 in the USA in US dollars.
Perfect.
That's in the US dollars, $245.
I love YouTube. YouTube can teach you how to do anything. That's my mantra for 2024. I changed the garbage disposal
in Saudi Arabia there.
Oh, perfect. There. Look at that. Tracy already found it. Look right there. Or did you do that?
No, he did that.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say, I don't know how to do that, Meredith. How did you do that? So that's a great, Pearson PTE. I love, if you have to use public transportation, pull up YouTube on your phone if you're able to, and check out some of the Pearson PTE. I love those. PTE for putting a testing. Oh, they love the PTE because you put a testing center in DXB. I'm not sure where that is. Nope. You still have RNs preparing for the PTE. I don't know where that is, Maja Diva, but I think that's great. Do we have any H-1B offers? We are doing a webinar, Tracy, correct me if I'm wrong, or we did it last week. It's coming up. It's on a Wednesday, I feel like. But we're doing a webinar where we talk about all things H-1B visas. I know that's a really big thing right now with retrogression is H-1B visas. So we are Ron Hoppy and one of our attorneys. Oh, Dubai. Thank you. Yes, there you go. DXB is Dubai. So we are doing a webinar on H-1B visas. Tracy can probably pop that in the chat, or if we've already done it, he might be able to post you the link on that. I can't remember. I know it's coming up, or it was like happened recently. Are there any? Oh, there we go. Meredith sent us that's where we can find the test center. So if you have any questions on test centers, I'm going to post that in the chat right now. There we go. That's the link to any test centers. So if you have questions on if the PTE is near you, this is the website where you're going to go and check those things. There was one question about testing in the Caribbean. Check that link because the Caribbean is a great big area. Lots and lots of beautiful islands that I personally love to visit. So yes. Oh, there it is. Tracy says we just hosted a webinar on H-1B visas. It's on YouTube. It's called H-1B RN visas. Are they for real? So that's going to talk to you about if you qualify, all that fun stuff. India is, as far as retrogression is concerned, I know that India has a much longer waiting list than most of the rest of the world. So India's a tough one right now, unfortunately. So I'm so sorry. Tracy can probably give you a better timeline as to where India is. But yes, India is a beautiful country, though. It's a beautiful place. All right.
46, I think, test centers in India. We have become the test of choice for study, at least for most Indian test takers. So you'll be able to find a test center very easily in India.
Oh, that's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. So the final tip that I kind of want to give everybody before we thank Meredith for her time and all of the information today would be remember that English exams have a shelf life. Meredith has already said they last for 2 years, your test scores. And this is true for every single English exam out there. There is no English exam that you can take that doesn't expire. Some boards of nursing require current test scores, meaning they have to have been taken within the past 2 years. So if you don't have a job offer yet, you don't know where you're going, you're just kind of thinking about it, my advice to you would be definitely practice for the PTE. And the PTE is a great test to use for practice just because they have so many great resources out there. Use it, even if you're not going to take the PTE, even if you don't have a job offer yet, use today's opportunity to take a practice PTE exam just to get that under your belt. And then once you have accepted a job offer, then you can look into, okay, is it accepted by my board of nursing? Some boards of nursing, like I said, require a current within 2 years. And we all know that the immigration process is a lovely timeline that ebbs and flows. So we want to make sure, again, that you're not getting your PTE results and then they expire and then you have to go back and take the PTE again. PTE doesn't want you to have to do that either. So make sure you do your research and keep in mind that they do have a shelf life of 2 years. They will expire after 2 years. Meredith just told me PTE will also be at the PNAA, which is absolutely awesome. You're not going to see Meredith there. Unfortunately, I'm going to petition that Meredith and I both get to go next year.
They said I could. In full defense of my team, I could, but I felt like for this year, it's such a better spend for me to keep working on these nursing boards so that next year I can go and be like, we don't have to have the who does, who doesn't conversations. And, but my team
those conversations.
My local team will be there and they are amazing. And yeah, go see them.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So both Pearson PTE and Worldwide will be at the PNAA conference in Iloilo City in the Philippines, January 25th through the 26th. So if you're in that area, make sure you go and check all of that out. Come say hi to Pearson. Come say hi to Worldwide. It's a great conference from what I've heard. I would love to experience it. I'm sure it's a really cool environment, really cool atmosphere, connecting with all the Filipino nurses who aspire to come to the United States and work. So thank you so much, Meredith, for your time today. Thank you for all the tips and tricks. So many people out there, so many questions. I think a lot of people today just wanted to listen because they were like, oh my gosh, it's not just Kari talking. It's actually like someone from Pearson giving these tips and tricks. So thank you so much for all that information. If you guys have any questions out there ever about the Pearson PTE, I do have a preparation course. You do have to be a worldwide nurse to access my preparation course. I built my preparation course with materials provided by Meredith and the amazing people at PTE. So like Meredith said, I know she can't like affiliate herself as a Pearson person with it, but Meredith knows that I'm over here helping.
Well, and I would say though, your preparation course is also an English preparation course where, you know, it's increasing English skills. It's not just a PTE. And I think we didn't mention this time. We kind of touched on it. The one tip I would say for anybody needing an English test, not just for PTE, go online and take the testers, the teasers, whatever each one of us call them. We all have little mini free tests on our website. Take that first. Go to all of them. Take them all first. See what you enjoy, see what you like, see what did not hit well with you. Take a scored practice test from each one of us. Again, different tests, different learners. You might think that you fall in one category of learning and testing, and then come to find out this actually does suit your style or make you feel more comfortable. But explore all of your options and then make your decision based on that. Because I think that, you know, everybody's different and there's solutions for everyone.
Absolutely. Don't just take a test because your friend took that test. Just because your friend took IELTS and found success on IELTS, that's, you know, that may not work best for you. TOEFL has recently done a makeover because of what Pearson PTE has put out there. TOEFL was like, maybe we should step up our game. And TOEFL has shrunk their test down to 2 hours. And in my opinion, if I'm in a state where I have to choose between IELTS and TOEFL, I'm going to choose TOEFL because it's a 2-hour sitting versus 4 hours and a face-to-face conversation. But if you are comfortable with the face-to-face conversation, IELTS might be for you. So that's a great tip, Meredith. That's a very fair tip as far as all of the competitors are concerned. Every test is different. Don't go by what your friends say. Don't go by what your Facebook group says. Take those. There's so many free options out there. Figure out which test is best for you and which one's going to suit your learning style. So thank you for joining us, Meredith. Thank you so much for your time. I sincerely appreciate you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the show today, for your great questions. We'll be live again next week. I have no clue what I'm talking about next week. I usually figure it out on Wednesday. But I'm sure it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good one. But just a friendly reminder, don't face the corner, face the world with Worldwide. I hope everyone has a great week. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.